Good day doodlers, welcome to Draw Cartoons. Today I'm going to show you how to draw one of the most popular Pokemon of all time, Charizard. Ken Sugimori is the artist and designer of a lot of the original Pokemon and the new ones too, so I figured I'd show you how to draw Charizard in his style. Make sure you watch the whole video because I've got some great tips on drawing fire, fingers and other things too. As always, you'll need a pencil, paper, an eraser and a Sharpie. Let's go! Let's get started. But first, if you want to learn to draw the fast and easy way, make sure you subscribe to the channel and ring that bell. Let's begin. So with your pencil in hand, it's actually best, we usually start with the head. We're actually not going to do that this time. We're going to start with the body, so it's best to start off by drawing kind of like a pear shape like this. So lots of small strokes is what I like to draw with. If you want to draw it in one big stroke of your pencil, you go for it. So you end up with this kind of pear shape, but instead of kind of rounding it off like a normal pear like this with a little stalk on the top, we don't do that. We're just going to carry it on a bit further for the neck. Charizard has a really long neck. Okay, so you get to about here. I'm going to start with this side of the head first. So we're going to carry it on and we're just going to end it in a small flick like that. Once you've done that, we'll draw the rest of the horn, which kind of juts out at a very slight downward angle, but definitely going all the way to the right, so it's just going down a little bit like that. So when you come back in towards the head, come back in and draw a bump that goes up and then down a little bit, and then one more that goes up a bit more than the other. And we're drawing the end of Charizard's snout now, so we draw a dip in the middle and then you curve it off to the edge of the mouth. Lots of kind of bumps and waves going on there. It might take you a few tries to get that right. When you do, we're definitely going to have a very good mirror of Ken Sugimori's artwork. So once you've drawn that, we'll dip down for the very front of the top lip and back up, and then we'll just follow the shape of the head down into a mouth shape that just kind of tilts down at the bottom for a kind of frown. He looks very kind of unhappy. So that's the top jaw here, and we'll quickly draw the bottom jaw, which is just a nice, pretty easy curve. Sorry, Eevee, I've got Pokemon on the brain apparently, coming down into the neck and just meeting up here. Now, this is really difficult. If you don't get that right in the first try, don't worry, just kind of keep trying and you'll get the hang of it eventually. So we can just add in the details now. Now there's an eye here that kind of just a straight line like this, and then it follows the shape of that bump that we drew just a moment ago. So we end up with this, I guess, leafy kind of shape here. And then we'll draw the pupil inside of this facing this direction here. So to do that, we're going to draw a small curve more or less in the middle of the eye, and then we'll draw another smaller curve pointing at the sharp edge of this inside eye here. If you want, you can just kind of color that smaller bit in just to kind of make it really obvious that that's a pupil. And now for a few details. So we'll add a nostril here, and it's just a small kind of water drip shape. And you can add another one on this side too, just kind of going off the edge there. There is a fang, there's a tooth sticking out right where the mouth raises there, and there's you can just kind of see another tooth poking out there. And now the other horn, you can just see the very tip of the other horn right there, just kind of sitting behind the back of his neck, if you can kind of picture that as a 3D kind of object. Okay, so now that we've done the head, the rest of it it makes sense because it's all kind of symmetrical. Once you've drawn one side, you can pretty much go ahead and draw the other side pretty easily. So we'll start with the legs. Now the legs, we'll start here, we'll come away from our pear shape, and we'll draw a line that curves outwards and then down into one of the feet. Once you reach the feet, come out a little bit and then curve it around to the other side of the leg that doesn't go any further than there. Once you've drawn that, we can draw a line that goes pretty much straight up, stop there, don't go any further, and then we'll draw the inner thigh, which starts about here and then curves in towards the torso and wraps up like that. There's a couple of small lines for the knee here, so I'll draw one line here, just a small curve, and a really tiny line there on the other side. Just immediately got an instant knee there. We're going to do that on the other side in a moment, but we'll just finish off this foot first. So there's a small line here, just a very small one to help us tell where the beginning of the foot is. His feet aren't particularly big, they're just almost kind of like stumps on the end of those big legs. So we'll draw 3 claws, and to do that we're going to draw very much the way Ken does in his official artwork, just 3 kind of spikes, and if you can imagine these as 3D, it'll make a lot more sense as you draw them. But here's my little tip: if you draw them like droplet shapes, if you can picture that, so the sharper at one end, at this kind of tip here, and a lot more round here where they meet with the foot. So keep that in mind, because we're going to use the same kind of drip shape technique on the other foot, which we're going to draw right now. So again, we're going to start here. We're going to draw a much smaller curve this time. It's actually going to end about here, and then we're going to come back out halfway through that line and bring it down towards the knee. Once we get there, we're going to draw pretty much straight down, only a little bit. And now for the shape of the foot. So we're going to come out again, bring it back down to the floor, and then across towards where the heel is going to be, and the heel is no further than the line of his belly here. Okay, so once you've got that there, bring the line pretty much straight back up, and then we can draw the inner thigh just kind of meeting up with the stomach there. So once you've done that, we're going to draw these claws, but on this side, and this time they're not going to be pointing this way like this. We're going to draw them at a slight angle. So again, we're just kind of drawing those droplet shapes, and they're pointing in the same direction as his foot, of course, so just be careful to get that right. So again, something else that might take you a few tries to get right, but once you do, it'll look fantastic. So we're just going to draw a couple of curves in for the knee here, 1 and 2, and then it helps to draw a line here just to show where the shin ends and where the foot begins, much like Ken Sugimori does in his artwork. So we'll draw a curve meeting one thigh up over the chest like this, and meeting that line there. Okay, and now we'll draw the arms. So the arms start in just kind of rounded shoulder shapes. So to do that, we'll start about here. We'll start by drawing a line that has a bit of a bump going on like that, and then we'll draw outwards a bit for the bicep of the arm. Angle it down as you reach the bicep, and here is where his hand's going to be. Now his hand's only got 3 fingers, I think, so we will, if you imagine the wrist is like here, if it's easier for you, you can just kind of draw a cross like that just to kind of show where the wrist is, and you can kind of plan ahead how thick you want the arm to be. But for now, I'm going to jump into drawing the hand. I'm going to start here, I'm going to come away a bit, and then angle it down into 1 finger like this. Now the fingers are kind of a weird shape, but I think the best way to think of them is just very much how we draw the sausage fingers that we do in our usual tutorials. You just kind of want to follow the shape that I'm drawing as closely as you can, and as you can see, I'm giving them a little, like really kind of subtle shapes in and out. So I'm kind of, you know, doing this, but way more subtle than that as I draw the shapes of the fingers, just to kind of, I guess, make them look a bit more real. So I'll do the last finger over here, or is it a thumb? I think it's kind of a thumb if it's on this side, right? So again, just kind of curving at the end and doing a little bit of waviness, but it's a really subtle curve if you can make that out. And at the end of each of these fingers there is a claw. So this claw is pointing inwards like this, just a small triangle. This one's pointing inwards too, and then this one is pointing kind of in this direction. And now we can just pretty much draw the rest of this arm. So we'll draw an armpit here, and then we'll just follow the shape of the arm that we drew a moment ago up here. And if you drew this line here, you can immediately tell just how wide you need that forearm to be. So we're going to draw the other arm now. So this one's kind of more of the same. We're going to add this kind of shoulder shape. We'll come out towards the elbow. This elbow flicks up just a tiny bit before it comes right down like this. Now this is a good time to draw that line for the wrist again. So go a little bit across, and you know ahead of time just how wide you want that arm to be. So starting here, going to draw the hand now. So draw across to one of the knuckles, and then down into a curved finger shape, and then back up into the hand. These are really tricky. Fingers and hands are always really tricky on pretty much anything you draw. It always will be tricky, trust me, because every time I draw hands I still have a lot of trouble. So But follow my guide as closely as you can, just kind of follow how I'm drawing them. There's a little bump here for another knuckle where I suppose where the thumb is. And once you've drawn those 3 fingers like this, we can draw claws on the end. So this one's kind of pointing like that, this one's pointing inwards towards the body a bit, and this one's kind of pointing downwards towards the knee. And once you've drawn those in, we can just go ahead and draw the rest of the arm. Because I drew that wrist line in, I know exactly how wide to make that arm there. So we're most of the way there. Just a few kind of tricky parts to do, but I think if you can draw the head right, you can certainly draw the rest of this. The rest of this will definitely come in time. So to draw one of the wings, we'll come up just above that shoulder there and draw a bump shape like this. Once you've done that, we're going to follow this line up at a diagonal angle. When you get to about here, just past this kind of elbow, if you think of it in a straight line, just past the elbow, we're going to start swinging this line up like that. And then there's a spine sticking out, almost like one of the horns on his head actually. Just kind of sticking out on its own like that, almost like a little sausage shape going on. And then for this wing shape, we're going to come all the way down here like this, but there's some interesting shapes to do along the way. So what we're going to do, we're going to go 1, 2, 3, and then finish about here, like more or less level with his hip here, kind of. So you can see what I did there, 1, 2, and 3, like that. Weird little bumps that kind of come out, but they look way more real. Like if I drew the wing like this, it would look really kind of cartoony, which is nothing wrong with that, but it's not the way that Ken draws the wings on this character. So we're going to follow his way of doing it. So I'm just going to follow this shape back up with the inside of the wing where the membrane sits. When you get to about here, you want to again just kind of come down, following the shape of the wing that we drew a moment ago. And there you go, I'd say the hard part of the wing's done, so you get to do the fun bit of just kind of drawing the membrane of it. So coming from here, we're going to draw a line that curves right up like this. Don't be shy, curve it up as much as you like within reason. Down to about here, next to the hand. Don't try not to overlap with the hand, but if you do, it doesn't really matter that much. It's your drawing. And we can just bring it in behind this arm here and tuck it in behind his body. So what's a nice little added tip here, if you start here, if you draw a line that just kind of doesn't quite meet either end, but just kind of sits like that, it immediately gives you this impression that the wing is folding a little bit. It's like an instant wing folding trick for you, if you like. So so now we're going to draw the other wing. So again, above the shoulder, this kind of lump shape going on. And then a line that comes up like this, and then angles up towards that spine, that thing that looks like another horn, just kind of sat here. And again, we're going to do that 1, 2, 3 thing. Or on Ken's official artwork, it's actually only 2, so let's do that. 1 and 2. And then we'll bring it down into the very end of the wing there. So again, we're just going to kind of round that off and follow the shape all the way along, just like this. There we go. There's no need to rush and there's no need to be shy. You just kind of take this in your own time and focus on getting it right, or at least getting it to a level where you're happy with it. So here again, we're just going to draw the membrane of the wing. Just come up nice and high like this. Bring it down when you get to close to the hand here. Again, we can do this kind of line here from this point here. You know, if you kind of picture that as the bit where the wing folds, okay? And then we'll finish off the membrane by just kind of drawing it in to kind of meet the arm here, and then wrapping down behind the back of the body. So the last thing to worry about here is the tail. So to draw that, I'm going to carry on from underneath the belly, a line that just kind of curves and straightens out behind the foot. And then if you can just kind of imagine it going behind the foot there. So let me just get rid of those. We can come along here and then bring it up into a line that curves up and over like this, right up and over. And then it tucks in behind that thigh there. Now there's another line that just kind of flicks down like this, and another one coming out of it like that. And if you draw that, it immediately gives the impression that the tail is folding and just kind of curling behind his body like that. So that just that small line there shows a fold, and it really looks good immediately. So we'll draw a small line along here just to kind of show where the colour separates for the tail. And now the last parts of the tail, it kind of loops in behind him and does this to a point like that. So to draw that, I'm just going to draw a small line here that sits behind this left foot, our right and his left. And then a line that curves up here to the end of the tail. It points up at the very, very end. And then similar to how we did the wings, we're going to come away from that point and curve it back in behind the leg. Now there's one glaring feature here that we've not drawn yet, and that is the flame on the end of Charizard's tail. So quick tip on how to draw a fire, make it nice and wiggly. Now it's very tempting to draw a matchstick fire. I'll show you what I mean by that. So a matchstick fire would be, you'd leave a bit of space and draw a curve up and over like that, and then I guess you'd draw the point of the fire like that. It's kind of like a leaf, but you leave a bit of space here at the end of the tail. You can draw it like that if you want, but it's not how Ken drew it. So let's do it the way that Ken drew it. Let me just erase that for now. So to draw the fire, stick with me here. It's not easy, but if you follow my tips, you'll get the hang of it. So I'm going to just kind of draw some waves and lots of wiggles that flick into sharp edges like this on both sides. Lots of small bends and weaves, and it doesn't matter if a bit of it looks a bit bent or looks a bit wrong, because honestly, fire, if you were to ever see a fire burning as brightly as this, you'd see that it changes shape constantly. Obviously don't play with fire, but if you're at a campfire or a bonfire or something like that, just watch the fire carefully. You'll see it's changing shape all the time, and there's all these kind of wiggles and ripples going on, and sometimes you might even see little bits of ember, which I'm just going to draw these in now. Small flicks kind of coming off the top of the fire. Maybe you want to draw some here, just to kind of show that the fire's wiggling and going upwards as the heat dissipates. And what might be helpful here, just to show, I guess, some gradation in the color, if you draw some flicking inside of this flame shape, there we go. You can immediately, it looks very fiery straight away. So this would be, I guess, red, and this would be yellow or white. And you can see how the heat, the fire, is really, really hot at the bottom of the tail, and the heat just kind of goes away. So just a quick tip on how to draw fire there for you. Our sketch of Charizard is actually done at this point, so get your Sharpies out, go over all the lines you want to keep. There's not an awful lot of guidelines here. For example, you don't want to draw over this, or this here, or I guess most of this, but yeah, get your Sharpies out and go over your sketch very, very carefully, and you'll end up with your own awesome drawing of Charizard. Go carefully over your sketch with your Sharpie. This is a great time to check for any last mistakes in the sketch as you go and fix them before you finish your drawing. And there you go, your very own blazing picture of the best fire-type starter Pokemon ever, Charizard. What, disagree? Let me know your favourite fire-type starters in the comments below, or over on my Discord channel. You can share your artwork anytime you like in my fast-growing Discord channel. I would be over the moon to see your Pokemon drawings, so hit the link in the description below to join the channel and start sharing right away. Remember to like and subscribe for more videos. Until next time.